Thank you for selecting this video to watch as part of your Used Car Week experience. My goal in the next few minutes is to give you a different perspective, a paradigm shift if you will, on how to better embed your key takeaways from the conference. As a matter of fact, you can use the information I'm going to deliver for much more than just your key takeaways from the Used Car Week. I looked at the Used Car Week website before recording this presentation. I counted over 180 speakers. That's a lot of information to take in. And if the average speaker speaks for 30 minutes, that is 90 hours of speaking time. I have no idea how to quantify this, but that is a massive amount of intelligent ideas, some of which you are going to want to implement into your organization. Here's the cool part. The cool part about what we're going to cover today. It doesn't matter when you watch this video during the conference. It could be the very first presentation you take in, the last, or anywhere in the middle. And it doesn't matter what topic or idea you want to leverage. I'm going to give you some research-backed strategic actions that will aid you with leading your team through organizational change. Let's get started. First key point to our strategy is communication, and not just any communication. Let's try to make this interactive. Grab a piece of paper, notepad, sticky notes, etc., and write down the answer to this question. How many people in the world are just like you? Exactly like you. Go ahead, list names. I'll be happy to wait. Just hit the pause button and come back when your list is completed. How many names are on your list? If I'm a betting man, it's 0. That's because no one else is just like you. You are special. You are unique. So stop speaking to others as if they are just like you. I was this person. I thought everyone thought much like me. For me, this learning was not a light bulb moment. It was an idiot moment. I was an idiot because I failed to understand that no one else on earth thinks, acts, or behaves just like me. Therefore, I was the idiot. But it gets worse. I thought everyone else was the idiot. How could these idiots not understand what I am saying or doing? Then I realized, duh, Rich, you are the idiot. And I had to have a talk with myself. Self, you're an idiot. The most important lesson that I learned is that the idiots who surrounded me, in fact, were not idiots at all. Instead, these people are individuals worthy of respect, understanding, and being valued. I can assure you my story is not unique, but somewhere, right now, someone is thinking in their inner voice, duh, Rich, you are such an idiot. How did you not know this? But let me reassure you, there are exactly 2 situations in life and work when you speak and the message is perfectly understood 100% of the time. A, when you're alone in the room, and B, when all the other people in the room are exactly like you. When we communicate with others, it happens on the listener's term. And if they are not just like us, then the message won't be understood just as you intended it to be. Say what? Yeah, we all have filters, and everything we hear runs through our own set of filters. Our filters are a byproduct of our experiences, interpretations, and behaviors. Therefore, we have to adapt to the listeners so that we can effectively communicate. Let me give you an example of how our filters work. You're on a safety team at work and there has been an incident. Thank goodness no one is hurt. But here's the scenario. There are 5 witnesses plus the 2 people involved in the incident. You have 7 people in total. And you interview each of them, complete all your investigation forms and paperwork, review it all, and realize they all have a similar story, but none of them are the same. How can this be? It is a direct result of how our brains interpret the information we see. Everyone saw the same accident, but they all interpreted the data differently. And that data, the information each person stored in their head, is filed in their brain's memory bank based on prior knowledge. This is critical to understand because we're going to talk about knowledge in the next key point. So on that piece of paper, the one with the list of all those people just like you, write down the words prior knowledge. You need that note for later in the presentation. But before we get there, to our next key point, we still have a question to answer. How do we speak so that the listener can understand us? First, we have to adapt to our listener. Yes, speak to them on their terms through their filters. And listeners are like layers of an onion. And the layers represent the makeup of our behaviors. Let's take a quick look. Starting from the outside, the easiest part to assess is the environment. Although it's not the same for everyone, the environment for the group you are leading is very similar. It will have more similarities than the rest of the layers will have. From there, the model works its way towards the center, to our core values. Deep inside of us are the beliefs that make up our behavior. All of these beliefs are our core values, and our core values are almost impossible to change. But it is in here, in our core, that makes or breaks our ability to communicate well with others. The trick then is to understand other people's belief system. What makes them tick? What motivates them? Furthermore, we need to have a deep sense of self-awareness of our own core values. You also need to know yourself and know your values to be effective in leading change. This is much easier said than done. It is the combination of what makes you tick and what makes them tick. As soon as we understand each other's core values, we can begin to communicate much better. There's more than one way to determine someone else's beliefs. One method is to spend a lot of time with a person, getting to know them, working with them, building a relationship. Unless you are specifically trained to get to the heart of someone's beliefs, or possibly go through a traumatic event together, this getting to know you process is going to take a long time. Another method, and likely a quicker method to understand what makes someone tick, is to use an assessment tool. There are several types of assessments available. I prefer the DISC assessment. The DISC assessment measures 4 separate factors: dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. The assessment measures why a person does what they do. It helps us to quickly pull the layers of the onion back to get to the center, the core beliefs. This is a great tool to help you quickly understand and identify your own core values and then the values of your followers. A behavior tool like this has shown to produce over 90,000 possibilities. So even if you work on a big team or in a large organization, you will quickly discover that everyone on your team is unique, even if they have similar dominant and adaptive behavioral preferences. Let's continue to the second key point I want to make. It is change management. Implementing any of these ideas you, yourself, have learned from the industry experts speaking at this conference, or any idea for that matter, is change management. Whether you want to believe it, you're going to attempt to create change. And not just any change. It's a little more complicated than that. But rest assured, I'm here to help you make a positive impact with your team or your organization. I can already see that look on your face. Oh my gosh, this guy wants us to change. Yep, change. My older brother always said to me, change is great. You go first. Little did he know, he inspired me to become a risk taker. Fortunately for you, I believe I have taken enough chances that I believe I have found the secret sauce to making it happen and to making it last. So, with this change project you want to do, yeah, that one, the one we have been referring back to since the start of this presentation, you're about to make a lot of people very uncomfortable. You know how I know this? Yep, experience, trial and error. And then I got smart, stopped beating my head against the wall, and paid a ton of money to learn from one of the best change management experts known, Dr. Ralph Goring, PhD. On the very first day of class, Dr. Ralph told us, never care more about your products or your services than you do the people. I quickly thought to myself, what does this have to do with change? Everything. It has everything to do with change. Dr. Ralph taught me on the very first day of my master's education, and a day I'll never forget, is that no matter what you are doing, people always come first. It is one of the most fundamental concepts in leadership. People come first. It's not about your products, not your processes, and definitely not your plans. You have to understand people and what motivates them, what makes them tick. All people have one thing in common, and you too can leverage it, regardless of assessment or no assessment. We all have dignity, every single one of us, regardless of who we are, where we are, or what we believe, or what our core values are. We all simply want to be treated with respect. So you get my point, my passion for people. So let me get back to defining change. To begin, we need to understand change. What is it? Change is an extremely complex, dynamic, and resource-consuming endeavor. Change efforts require multiple resources, a lot of attention, tons of energy, and a great deal of action. A key point I want to emphasize here is that you have to walk the talk. Actions speak louder than words. Talk is cheap, and followers want to see leaders in action. And action is inspiring and builds trust. And going first is scary. Don't make your followers go first. You go first. This requires self-confidence and courage, but you won't know until you try. Demonstrate to your followers that you are willing to make the leap first and take the risk associated with your vision. Now, before calling your first meeting or sending out a memorandum email to launch your latest and greatest idea or process, there are a few more things to consider. First, change is not an event. Change is a process. Mandates like a memo, email, or special meeting can work as a catalyst, but they will not support the change process. These are events. Too many times I have witnessed bosses sending out an email or calling an all-hands meeting to deliver new directions, believing wholeheartedly that it'll be enough to create change. And then a few weeks pass by, maybe a month, and the boss is thinking, what in the heck is going on? I sent an email. I had a meeting. Why is this not working already? It's going to take more than one meeting, email, or event to make change occur. It's going to take a long string of events stitched together with favorable people-first leadership values. The values I use when I lead are trust, hope, compassion, and consistency. Weave these 4 values into your string of events, and you will increase your chances for seeing change occur, just as you dreamt it to be. And without an extreme catalyst like the COVID-19 pandemic, research shows that most change processes take 3 to 5 years to complete. Yes, 3 to 5 years. Now I'm sure you're asking, why does it take so long? Because people need time to learn. And most importantly, they need time to learn new behaviors. People must stop doing what they know well and learn a new way, which often leads to grief. Yes, grief is a process. Without acknowledging this simple fact, you will lose the opportunity you need to make effective change. Let's take a look at a change process that is still ongoing, being debated right now as a result of the pandemic. This example is on a national, possibly a global level, and it's the change on how we come together to work. On one side, you have those believing working from home is the answer. On the other side of the argument, you have those that say we need to return to the office, yet others state we need a hybrid model. This is a change example on a grand scale, and you have all the ingredients to what change is about. We most definitely have time. The pandemic started in March of 2020, and here we are, as a business community, still processing the change and debating the question, where are we going to work from? We also have 3 other interesting occurrences happening in this scenario too. We have those in favor of continuing change, our change champions. We'll talk more about them later. We have those against change who want to go back, the resistors. Again, more to come in due time. And third, we have those who are willing to change, but they're just taking their own sweet time. Like my father would tell me when I wasn't moving fast enough, he'd say, "Rich, you're moving slower than molasses in January." Let's get back on track to where I left off before I got distracted with that change example. People live on emotions, not tasks, not processes. They thrive on how you treat them and how you make them feel. Make them feel important, part of the process, and listen to their feedback. And I highly discourage setting a drop-dead date for change. You cannot control others, and you cannot control time. If you try, it'll create more grief, more problems, and more frustrations. Set a realistic goal, but not a drop-dead date. Let's discuss another obstacle, one I bet you have not considered. Most organizations are hierarchical in structure. This is a major roadblock to effective change management. Hierarchical structures are rigid, unyielding, and defiant. They don't like change. Rank and file org charts are the most common business structure types since the advent of the assembly line and other industrial revolution thoughts that placed a high emphasis on management, productivity, and control. Culturally, unless you have a tremendous amount of self-awareness in your organization, managers are conditioned to not take risks, complete the tasks on time, and maintain control, all of which hinders change. Pecking order terms like boss, manager, top-down, departments, regions, and the like are all traditional ranking words from which people create visions in their own mind of what they currently know to be true and where they fit into the organization. These types of words limit creativity, learning, and growth. They are vital aspects of a thriving organization willingly ready to accept change. In order for big change to take hold, people at every level of the organization need to understand why these changes are taking place. According to Gartner's research, a $4 billion HR consulting firm, with a top-down approach, the gap in understanding between the C-suite and the entry-level employees is 31%. Compare this to an open source change strategy where the gap shrinks to 3%. It is highly unlikely you're going to change the org structure you are currently working in. So change the language you use. Use terms like colleague, teammate, peer, and associates. By doing this simple action, you will begin to positively alter the mindset of your followers. It's about setting the tone and the stage for collaboration, not cooperation. Within this same framework, your choice of words will also influence the change process. To instill change, you must alter the pattern in which people think, view, and observe the world around them. John Kotter wrote about change in his 2012 HBR article titled Accelerate. He wrote, "We know that hierarchies are useful as they let us work in departments, divisions, regions, etc. with expertise, time-tested procedures, and clear reporting relationships and accountability so that we can do what we know how to do with efficiency, predictability, and effectiveness." I need you to key in on this last part of what Kotter wrote, and I'm going to repeat it. Hierarchies are useful so that we can do what we know how to do. Remember from early on in the presentation when I asked you to write down the words prior knowledge? Well, here we are, our next light bulb moment. We need to shift from what we know how to do to what we need to learn how to do. Change is a byproduct of learning something new, something you do not know or accept prior to your exposure, training, and understanding of the new knowledge. Let's go back to what Kotter wrote one more time. Hierarchies are useful so that we can do what we know how to do. And that hierarchy culture is not helpful to change. This logic follows the precept that when a flower isn't growing, you change the environment, not the flower. You're not going to change the org chart, but you can change the culture and your approach to align with the laws of adult learning. Learning is the catalyst that is going to allow change to happen. Without learning what is new, you will continue doing what you already know. And we all know that doing what we already know over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of insanity. Let's dig into the first point I just made regarding learning. First, organizations adopt change and individuals implement change. Successful change starts and ends at the individual level, and individuals learn, not organizations. Organizations are made up of people. They outline how activities are achieved, but they do not learn. The rate of learning is different for each person in your organization. Therefore, change is not complete until all individuals have learned what is new. Notice I said every level of the organization. This means you must have executive or board level buy-in on your change project. Google has done their own research regarding change in the organization, and they have discovered that top-level buy-in and sponsorship is one of the most important ingredients to successful transformation. And sometimes, some people absolutely refuse to comply. I call these people resistors, and regrettably, resistors need to be removed from the organization. And about these peeps you want to remove. Be aware of the difference between resistors and laggers. Resistors are just that, 100% not going to change. No matter what method you choose, they simply will not comply. It is best to remove them from the organization so as not to waste valuable time and resources trying to get them to change. Save that energy for the laggers who want to change, but they're just slow movers. But for now, let's stay clear of removing individuals from the organization. That's another presentation all of its own and likely takes the involvement of your legal team, and we don't want that. So back to our laggers. Laggers are those willing to change, they just may appear to be resistors. Laggers are willing learners and they delay their learning, which requires intervention. The best form of intervention I know comes from the change champions. They can help bridge between the old way and the new way. I'll come back to laggers and the bridge concept in a moment, but I want to jump to the quick learners, the AKA change champions. These quick learners are your partners, teammates, collaborators. Recall what I mentioned earlier. Your word choices can help you to better influence your outcomes. The quick learners are your friends. They're on your side. They want to help you, so don't lose them in the process. They will likely jump in feet first and won't look back. Harness this enthusiasm, regardless of where it comes from in your organization. Do not hold quick learners back from helping you. Remember that I mentioned earlier, if you have a top-down approach, you have a 31% gap in understanding between the C-suite and the entry-level employees. Allow those in the entry-level positions to be your change champions. Allowing them to help you and be part of the change process, collaboration versus cooperation, you will close the gap to just 3%. Any astute executive will surely take 97% over 69%. In school, one is an A, the other is a D. And with this group of people, these change champions, this is where you really need to stop being preoccupied with the innovation, the new concept, or the process you're trying to implement. They've already bought into your idea, so stop pushing down on them. Top-down pressure is not going to increase the speed or deliver the change results you want in your organization. Instead, I want you to think about the actions and events needed to influence the results. In other words, place more emphasis on the people rather than the process or the product. Remember, people first. Just show them dignity. I want you to visualize yourself as a project manager who is about to construct a major bridge across a river in a growing city. You're not just going to erect this adjoining contraption yourself. It takes a team, a lot of equipment, planning, effort, permits, approvals. Building this bridge is similar to eating an entire pizza. You have to do it one bite at a time. Change is just like this. You just don't drop in a bridge, bam, traffic problem solved. You don't eat the pizza in one gulp. All of these processes take time and must be broken down into manageable pieces. And those small bites is the small talk in the hallway where you have an impromptu conversation on the way to another meeting, the brief chat at the water cooler, the reception desk, or even in the bathroom. Regardless of how they occur, the small interventions lead to big changes. It's like a savings account. You put a little bit of money into your savings each day, and before you know it, you'll have a nice nest egg with interest. Not to mention all the traffic headaches you're going to create in the process of building the bridge. Creating change is going to result in traffic headaches within your organization or team. It's unavoidable. But having a people-first plan like this helps you limit the pain points and smooth over the process. Let's recap what we just covered. I made two major points. First key point was about communication. Likely, your current communication style is failing you, at least to a point. Not everyone is just like you. You need to learn and understand the key differences that make up the core of people's behaviors. You have to adjust to the listener. Speak on their terms, not yours. When you speak on your terms, both you and the listener waste a lot of time and energy trying to decipher and code the words. It should not be this difficult. Second, change is not an event. Rather, it is a process. People have to learn what is new and forget what they have been doing. Not all people learn at the same rate. Therefore, not all change is going to happen at the same rate. And last, implied and woven throughout this presentation, but not clearly stated until now, is focus. Focus, focus, focus. Organizations adopt change. Individuals implement change. Change efforts require multiple resources, a lot of attention and energy, and a lot of action. Facilitating change is a people-first effort. Thank you.